But compass is a relatively new invention. But the arrows pointing out do connote direction. And if they're pointing out in multiple directions, it talks about expansion and traveling outwards. So what we have here is a symbol of travel and expansion between industry, let's hold it like that, and nature or life. Keeping them apart. You never find, or I have never found, these two symbols together. Always this between them. So there's always something holding the two aspects apart of nature and industry. Nature and man, if you like. But let's go back to the gear. What's interesting is that this is not an old symbol. As I explained, an old symbol would be a wheel. If I saw a wheel next to these things, I'd go, oh, ancient. 5,000 years old, 10,000 years old, 100 years old if it's on the tree. But these things are painted on walls, painted on edge rock, pictures of animals, stuff like that. I'm going to get onto animism in a minute. But so it's not ancient, it's new and ancient. And when I see things like new and ancient together, it tells me there's something happening. There's something converging. And that can be a very scary thing, or it could be a very exciting thing. But it's something that we need to know about. And this was the brunt of my research in God's Lake. This convergence, finding out what's going to happen. 2012, anyone? Mayan calendar, end of things? Yes, but probably no. I'm much more interested in not necessarily a physical happening, but a metaphysical happening that can change us, change the world for us, not necessarily in a physical manner. But we need to find this out, so we're prepared. So that's what I was doing in God's lake, and one of my most, the core of my research, one of my most interesting studies is in animism. Now, I've talked to so many people today about animism. Have I spoken to you about it yet? Okay. Animism. Does anybody know what that is? Okay, it's a belief at its simplest form that animals and inanimate objects have spirits, in the same way that humans have spirits. These spirits can be manifested in material ways. Werewolves. Greek mythology, naiads, dryads, coming from the lake, lake creatures, trees, Egyptian gods. All could be the results of witnessing one of these manifestations. I've witnessed one of these manifestations. I took a photograph, a very good photograph, but if you kind of look at it and squint a little bit, you can see this was actually an elk transformed and walking like a man. There's kind of a strange sort of aura around it that was man-shaped, but you could kind of see the elk through it. Quite scary. I didn't have time to take a really good photo, but I tried. And as I say, if you kind of squint really carefully and do this, you can kind of see it. I can pass it round as well. Let's start from this side. You can have a look. Squint a bit if you want. Now, most of the accounts of this witnessing these animistic events have been with older members of society. You know, like wise men, shamans, just generally old people. And modern science has discounted a lot of this stuff through the use of a syndrome called Charles Bonnet syndrome. Has anybody heard of that? Well, you can Google it on the interweb if you want. But what it basically is when people lose some acuity in their eyesight, the brain starts filling it in. And you know, like, and they say, oh, old people saw this, and obviously they weren't seeing very well, and their brain was filling stuff in. And I guess if you've ever lain awake at night, you've seen maybe shapes appearing. You've looked at a bit of wallpaper that suddenly looks like your grandmother or something. You look at stars and you start, or clouds, and you start seeing whales and stuff like that. I think that is basically, maybe it's true. Maybe for a lot of people that is actually very true. But the few that it isn't means that something is happening there. And the only way we're going to find that out is by people like me doing this research out in the field and not getting fired by our university just because we're not filling in bits of paper and filing them every week or two. I'm sorry, but for these people to grow fat like maggots, chewing on the flesh of academic work made by us, well, that just drives me crazy. I mean, I don't know what they do all day there, but they certainly don't do any hard work, I can tell you that. I'm sure that they're just quite happy to trot up to 1 or 2 lectures every week and tell a bunch of bored students a load of garbage that they thought of in their off hours between cherries. Anyway, let me get back to this. No, because you know what? I think there's something fundamentally wrong with the university system. If they're going to, just because they're taking money from corporate entities, that they're going to stop field researchers from doing the job, finding stuff out that's important, cut them off in mid-research as it is, take all their research and throw it into some box down in some cellar, where probably in a few years' time some fat professor who hadn't done anything, published anything for a few years, find a bit of interesting information, gets a ghostwriter in to spice it up a little bit, and suddenly they've got a best-selling book and a nice research paper. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, these ironclad industries. There, I said it. Look them up. Look them up and Google them. Is that the word? Yeah. Okay. Google them on your interweb machine and see what you come up with. They've got fingers everywhere, and one of their fingers is trying to grab God's lake and do something nasty with it. But God's lake, I'm sure, is one of the great sacred sites of our time. We need to know what's going on there. We need to know what effect it's going to have on us as a society, because it could be really good, but it could be awful. And I want to know which. That's just me. So anyway. Okay. So there we are. Basically, that's what my research has been. That's what I've been doing. That's why I've been doing these FANExpos. Trying to get people interested. And I've had my good grad students working on stuff for me. As I say, I'm more of a digging in the holes of the ground man, not ticky-tacking on bits of computer things. So what I've actually had them do is they've knocked up an app for your smartphone that will actually help you. It'll help to reveal animistic events. Because believe me, they're happening all around us. We just have to have the eyes to see them. It's on your phone. Is it ready yet?
Not at the moment, but it will be soon, Professor. Soon.
Okay.
Apologies.
So these are the guys who are supposed to be giving me this like overhead projector so I can show you the slides that I prepared. So who knows if this will be ready ever. Anyway. So anyway, it'll be called the Animist, perhaps. And you'll be able to put it onto your smartphone and see things. Very exciting things. Are people coming back tomorrow? Okay, I put markers, well, not even markers, I put posters all around this event. If you have a smartphone and you've got the QR reader, what does that stand for?
Quick response.
There you go. If you said that, I'd know. I'm not likely to go, the response quick reader, am I? QR reader on your phone. We've got these posters and they have squiggly things underneath them. You can read this on your smartphone with your QR reader and it'll give you information, clues, to a little puzzle that we've set up. This is to help you understand what we need you to do when you go to my website. My website is it's something that we've set up. As I say, most of my research is scattered around the interweb because everything that I've researched I found by looking. I didn't necessarily dig things up out of the ground. Well, I did. But most of the stuff is there for you to see. You've just got to build the patterns, see the connections, join them up, and you'll find out exactly what we're going to, we're looking for. What is the name of the website?
It's declangray.com. That's your website.
Declangray.com. That's where my blog is.
Yes.
And that has a link to another website.
Yes, enterthegodslake.com.
Enterthegodslake.com. Don't buy my blog though, because I'm writing it. I want people to read it. But you can go straight to enterthegodslake.com. They'll give you a bit of a hand to help you look around, draw this information, put it together, send it back to me. I'll get it collated, published, see what else I can find out. We'll put it together and reveal the mystery. I think that's really pretty much all I've necessarily got to say. If you've got questions, I assume that you would be able to ask them. Yes.
Okay. You've mentioned that you found that all types of objects, inanimate objects, seem to have a soul.
Yes.
Okay. In your findings, have you found that your reactions or interactions with your environment has changed due to this revelation, i.e. your clothing, how you interact with, let's say, opening a door, knowing that it possibly has a soul is a lot different than before you knew this knowledge. How does it change for you?
Well, if you think about this, I've got a finger. My finger doesn't have a soul. My finger has a bit of a soul, right? If you think about a door, the door is not the object. The door is part of the object, right? Especially if it's attached. But it's part of the object that is the building. So you might in fact say, okay, the building has a soul. But buildings nowadays are a little bit impersonal, if you think about it, because you can also go right down and say it's a conglomeration of concrete crystals, right? Is the crystal the thing? I think you've got to kind of think a little bit more outside the box, if you like. Not necessarily think about the door or building as an object, but a chair. You could say a chair has a soul. You don't know until you see it. I mean, this is beliefs.